There we go. Yep, mic is up. All right. Morning, folks. At least for me. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics, and we're doing a early morning stream. I had a early wake up, an idea, and now I got some super watered down coffee, which is hopefully gonna be enough to get me through it. But hope you folks are doing well. The goofy idea was, I've been kicking around this thing called indie comics here for quite some time. And when I wanted to start breaking into comics, there was some trouble. And that trouble was, dun dun dun, was trying to find out, you know, how. And so there's tons of videos on how to break into comics. In one word, just make comics. It'll lead you where you need to go. But after that step, after the step that you've begun starting, then there's a couple paths you can take. There's web publishing, there's self-publishing, there's crowdfunding based publishing, which I have the most experience in. And then there is more traditional publishing, which I believe most folks really do want to hit, get on comic store shelves. And again, when I started, there was no I couldn't find, and I looked for a lot of resources. This is years back, so much has changed, but I couldn't find resources that would list a bunch of comic publishers that took creator-owned submissions. Um, the primary two that you will, or at least I had heard of at that point, were Dark Horse and Image Comics. And being a naive bastard, I tried Image Comics. Of course, I didn't. And Dark Horse has you jump through a lot more hoops that I'm not a particular fan of. Uh, so that left me with just kind of looking online to find any indie comic publishers. I found a few and I submitted. I heard back from one. A good exchange, and it helped keep me going to the path I found. But these days, even in the last couple years, there has been a massive emergence. This will to make these unique stories outside of the bigger publishers, um, and they're not spoken to or spoken about enough. I think they all could punch far above their weight. Uh, Folks were actually out there and engaging, listening, trying to figure out what these companies are trying to do, publishers are trying to do. That's part of what this stream is. We're going to go through some Wikipedia articles, we're going to go through some websites, and then I'm going to try and guess what the vibe the company's kind of goes for, what kind of books they like to publish. I'm going to try and guess their direction and what their goals are. And really, I'm just going to enjoy some very cool indie works, honestly. Um, If you folks have any questions or comments during that process, please let me know. I'm happy to interrupt any stream consciousness because usually it's just me rambling. But I thought this would be a slightly worthwhile thing to check out. So, I think there are mainly two old hats in here. So we're going to start with one and we're going to end with one. Let me go ahead and get us ready there. Boop. I'm going to start with one I heard of. I had gotten comics from without realizing it. I used to order these $15 when I got into comics just originally, and I wanted to have kind of a sampling of all kinds of stuff. Um, I would order those bundles off of eBay, where here's 100 comics for $25, and they're just random comics. They don't give you duplicates. That was a great deal for a younger kid trying to jump into things. And so I ended up with some of these manga kind of inspired works. And there's been a lot of publishers that has come and go as well in this space, particularly during the 80s, 90s, and the aughts. Um, but these guys have withstood the test of time putting out the books they want to put out. There are some that folks may not love because it's political satire, but there are wonderful works and great creative teams. Let's go ahead and check them out. I have a bit more personal experience with this company than any other that we're going to talk about. So if I'm a little biased, I apologize. But yeah, oh, let's see. Yeah, display capture. Whoop. There we go. We're talking about the good folks at Antarctic Press. Now, I'd first heard of Antarctic Press because I got a couple stray issues of Gold Digger. The probably longest running American manga series that I can think of. I could be wrong. Feel free to shoot me in the comments down below if I'm wrong. That's totally fine. But as far as I'm aware, Gold Digger, the oldest running American manga series. I think Ninja High School comes pretty close. Um, I I was aware of the folks, um, but I didn't really know them until I jumped into crowdfunding. And I only know them for two reasons. One, the creator of the creative team, basically the entire team of Rags, which is a very cool comic you can get through Antarctic Press. They were one of the few folks that kind of helped me find some footing in the social media aspect of all this. And for two, during that time, Antarctic Press was getting slugged from things completely outside of its control, which really sucked. Honestly, there was no cause for it on the publisher Ben Dunn's end. It basically was a chain of intimidation and clout that there was no good way through. And so I got to see how how the industry works on that level too, when the big guys try to put hands on the little guys doing something maybe they don't like. Very very interesting bit of experience. But here's their site, Antarctic Press, myshopify.com. Check it out. You can look through the books, and we will actually be coming back and looking through the books here in a second. Fan of that series right there. Let's go ahead and hit this. Yeah, super, kind of lazy going through the Wikipedia with you guys, but we're not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to be scanning and kind of talking about the beginning, um, things like that. And this will help me because I'm going to be 100% honest. All of these companies, I don't know their history very well. I know some of their titles. I know some of the creators in a lot of cases. But part of the point of this stream is to help me and anybody who wants to watch familiarize ourselves with a wider spectrum of indie publishers besides Image, Dark Horse. Because those two have their own systems in place, which we might talk about coming up. But right now, here's Antarctic Press. Genuine Comics says Antarctic Press is a good group of people, cool group of people. I even got lucky to do a short story for them last year. Well, congrats! Awesome to hear, Genuine Comics. Very cool. You're welcome to plug it if it's still on sale or whatever in here. I'm all about supporting indie comics, man. The more unique voices we can get out there, the better. And if you got through Antarctic, great. I know a few folks there, but I don't know the company at large. But I do like a lot of their works. All right, so they're out of Texas, Antarctic Press. Um, they say they publish a Maramanga. Ha! I didn't know they even have a term for it, a Maramanga. So I guess I should say Gold Digger is the longest running a Maramanga series. That's Okay, okay. Um, they do how to and you can instructing comic book creation and craft. I'm unaware of those books. We're gonna have to look for those on the site because I'm very curious. I assume they're from Ben Dunn, but we'll see. Started in '85, so they've been publishing for 35 years last year. That's no small feat for an independent comic publisher, folks. 35 years in this game. Um, they're older than Image Comics. uh, which means they found a niche and a footing, and they've been able to hold it, which is wonderful. It's very, very tough. 850 titles, total circulation over 5 million, so that's pretty damn good. They want to publish the coolest Antarctic get a creator of comics on Earth. Excellent. And a lot of people. So they're they're an entry point, which I love seeing. That's one of the what I was talking about earlier. It's hard to find for new creators who just created a comic. It's hard to find companies that take entry level. There's a lot of companies that say they take entry level. Eh, unless you know somebody in a lot of the cases, that's not how it works. Um, Antarctic may be very similar, but I would say your chances are probably better with somebody of their scale than it is in, again, Image, Dark Horse, others. Um, so there's some folks who are, listed as doing good. Antarctic in the 90s, they started then. Late 84, they wanted to publish a mangazine. Love it. Um, they wanted to produce English language manga. A great freaking idea, particularly that time where manga was, well, hell, anime was called Japanimation at that point. It's back in the day. So that was an edge. That was a niche. That was a smart thing to hop on. But they've done a lot of different works. Looks like they've gone to the they even had an erotic imprint at one point called Venus Comics. I was unaware of that. I know Warrior Nun, Aurelia, was recently adapted to a TV series, and it was pretty decent. Not all of it was up my alley, and I haven't read the comics, so can't really speak to that. I was aware of Dragon Arms. I have some Dragon Arms. That's the other series I got a few stray issues from in those random boxes. Um, so this one's going to be easy. We're starting off with an easy one called Indie Wars. All right, folks, check out Genuine Comics Indie Wars through Antarctic Press. Hopefully, it's still in print. If not, snag a back issue. And I love seeing unique work, and I want to support Antarctic Press. Again, they've kept running for working on 36 years. This very volatile industry because they found a very cool niche and they know how to do their business. So, very, very cool. Not too much else I want to really say about it. It looks like 2018 they went a little bit further. 15 titles, which means they haven't been publishing like they're not a Marvel or a DC where it's 50 some odd titles a month in some cases. Um, but any kind of monthly comic work is just exceedingly cool to see coming out of indie. You'll find that a lot of folks do bi-monthly. They do a binge thing where they create all of it and release it. In fact, there's a studio we'll be talking about here pretty soon that is just that. That's what they do. But yeah, now let's go through and check out some titles in our in on their website. Check out their website. Um, go from there. Of course, they have Gold Digger front and center, issue 274. Yeah. Oh man, if I could hit issue 50, I would be blown away. Issue 25. Any milestone number. Issue 10. I guess I should be shooting for issue 10. Issue 5, really. I get big for my britches. That's how I got so far in some cases. Here's Cat Shit 1. Like it's black and white. Looks interesting. Again, Manga, Motofumo Kobayashi. Looks cool. Site's really pushing Gold Digger, which makes sense. It's their biggest title as far as I can tell. Definitely their oldest, longest running title. I know these folks relatively well. Bill Williams and Matthew Weldon, Punchline. Very cool creators. Matt's art style is just incredible. And he knows how to network and has produced some amazing pieces for a lot of other cool creator-owned titles. Definitely check out Punchline if you want something on the more traditional cape angle in which can be kind of hard to find in a lot of cases. A lot of folks end up doing indie because they don't want to do capes. They want to do something different. And of course, there's a bunch of this stuff. I'm a fan of Black Hops myself. Little Rabbit, Super Soldier, basically. I don't want to spoil more than that, but definitely worth your time. And a lot of these I don't know. I don't know Teeter. Classics, which looks like it's going to have some of their parody comics. Uh, didn't know they produced any westerns. That's my genre there. That's cool. They have some young reader stuff, so they're a great entry point as well. And that's the thing. A lot of that's one of the things that's I keep saying it though. It's been bugging me is that there's no clear cut. There's no single publisher in independent comics that claims to be the best entry point into comics. I think that's a niche that could really do some good. I'm gonna have to. I have an angle that might work on that myself, but I don't have that kind of energy on it. I don't have that kind of bravado. Um, but it's an angle that should be there. There should be a place you can point to, and it leads to others. But how the comic industry is structured is there's a lot of smaller publishers. There's a chance that going to one of them will blacklist you from going up the ladder. There's chances that going to one of them blacklists you from the others. Um, there's all this extra political baggage that shouldn't even be acknowledged, in my opinion, on when it comes to an art form like this. If it's a good work, it'll stand on its own. If you believe in publishing it, able to. This creative team should be able to outshine and move up and move forward. But that's not life's not that simple. So as we go through this, I'm hoping you'll see the many different paths up the mountain. Antarctic Press is one of them. Now I don't know. There is there is a submission process here. Folks want to check it out. That's the other thing I want to make sure folks know. Go to their sites, check out if they have a submission process. Look through the submission process, how they set it up and how they want it. There are always expectations. Some are more tight than others. For instance, Dark Horse won't even look at your submission without a signed notice, such, which I find odd, only because I don't see almost any other indie publisher having to do that, and that's a little worrisome. But we'll move on. We'll move. Genuine Comics laid it out much more succinctly than my early caffeine level coffee brain can communicate. But yeah, it's who you associate with. It's what you push. It's the message that moves forward. There's a lot of that matter much more than the quality of your work. And this tends to lean more towards writers because a very poor artist doesn't see consistent sales. Now you'll see bigger companies go with poor artists who push whatever angle they're trying to push, and they can afford to lose that money to push that angle and to grow this person's career. But other folks, it's harder for an artist out there to keep getting work when it's not fun to look at. Whereas a writer, if it's not that fun to read, they can still pair you with an amazing artist, and so it'll prop you up, even if you're filling to the brim with writing because your insecurities with working with an. There's it's so much more complicated than it needs to be getting into this industry, and I get it. It's business, so it's always going to be complicated because it involves money, which is lifeblood. You're dealing in blood if you're dealing in money. It's just how it goes. But there's better ways. There's easier ways. And again, I just want to present folks with different pathways up the mountain, if I can. Welcome, Josh, the Amazing Animator, publisher, owner of Science Wizard Comics. We're we're going through about 7 publishers that are relatively they vary in size. We're starting with this wonderful 35-year-old publishing company, a veteran in this industry, older than Image Comics. And then we're going to be ending with another publisher that is older than Antarctic, that's been around, that I respect quite a lot, but has shaken up and moved back and forth quite a few times. And so that'll be fun to talk about. But Antarctic Press, check them out. Good folks. Very little drama coming out of them. Um, there was a point a few years back, a lot of drama came into them. But they just focus on producing a manga and just cool creator-owned titles. They want to publish the best, the coolest creator-owned titles. That's their freaking tagline. Check them out. Submissions were under AP info, which I would have had submissions. Um, you'll see the difference in websites as well and how they present themselves marketing wise, and you can kind of tell the scale. I think Antarctic has survived because they know where they want to be and have worked to maintain it. They haven't tried to grow too big, haven't downscaled either significantly. It's always been slight adjustments. So, yeah, check them out. We'll keep that open. Now we're going to jump onto a company I don't know very well, but I know a couple of the IPs that they have attached to or that have found them. I don't know these stories. So this is one I know some of the least. And this is Red 5. And again, how they present themselves is going to be interesting as we go through this. This still has GIFs and tries to show the art, and it's very clear with putting the books almost on a shelf for you. Red 5. Um, Something I'm gonna say because I noticed it right away, and I don't think they've noticed. They they still have their SquareSoft logo up there instead of a thumbnail of their company image, which uh, it's interesting. But Red 5, they have distribution. They have a bunch of titles under them. Some very quality looking art. I don't know what their sales are like. I don't know. Again, I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything about Red 5 except for some of the titles under them. In particular, the IPs under them. I don't even know the quality of the books. So we're going to dive into this together. Looks like they start with a pitching a book. It looks like the fan favorite series, The Dark Age, is finishing. Surprise smash hit of 2020. So I'm hoping that's good. Looks like it's a post-apocalypse where tech went out. Interesting. But no image unless that's supposed to be from Dark Age. I don't know. Interesting presentation. Mandrake, yeah, see that's an old one, very old IP. Glad to see that here, but again, maybe that's supposed to be an image from Mandrake, and then a lot of text. Eh, all press. So does it? That's their home. It's not their about. Interesting. So right off the bat, it doesn't quite sell you on the books. Machine Girl, that's the IP I know the best. That's under their bit, and that's what kind of got me to notice Red 5. And then another creator that I had no help, but had no choice but to be aware of working in the I worked of, ended up at Red 5. So that's the other reason. Um, and then, of course, they're on Global Comics as well. There's a few There's a few smaller indie publishers. There's another one we're going to talk about here in a bit that has some amazing creators and some very cool looking titles that ended up on Global Comics. And Jack's beaten all but one title. So that's the other thing I want people to understand with this indie thing is you think there's a set system going into comics. There's not. You think there's this scale of talent and of weight with indie comics and even with publishers and businesses like this. There's not. I mean, there is, but there's not. Not enough to really factor into your own creative energy and output. Find the path up the mountain that works for you. That's the biggest point of this. Um, Butcher Queen. A lot of these titles from Red 5 you can check out for free on Global Comics. So I will link you folks to there maybe at the end of the thing because another company we're going to be looking at is also on there. And it's worth your time. And though I'm not a big fan of this particular, yeah, same image twice. I'm not a fan of the presentation. There's Dark Age. There's an image of Dark Age. Thank you. Uh, I'm not the biggest fan of the presentation of this website. That doesn't speak anything to the book's qualities. In fact, it looks like they even got themselves a Netflix deal for something. Great for them. Good for Red 5. Um, doesn't put the books up very front and center, so I don't really know what's going on there. Um, but this is their home, so maybe they think that they want to present news here, even though there's no news section. So maybe the home is where they felt best. I wouldn't have had that on the landing page. Antarctic did do that a lot better, even though their site's kind of simple. The thing Antarctic did that these folks do better is it's easy to find submissions for this, whereas that you have to go to info and then there it is. But let's read about Red 5 since I have no idea what's going on here, and their homepage, their landing page didn't help. Um, Independent comic book publisher. Creator owned and internally developed titles, including their best known title, which is Atomic Robo. See, I don't even know. That's not up front and center. That art looks cool. Dropping a nuke on folks by hand. That's pretty cool. Red 5 was one of the first comic book publishers to jump into digital distribution. That's cited, so I'm going to be very interested about that. In 2011? Yeah, there were digital comics before 2011. Maybe publishers didn't? Huh. Okay. And then they just have their titles here, which I know none of those. That's kind of so great. Yeah. Okay. How long have they been? 2007. Okay. Okay. So 23 years. No, 23. 13 years. 14 maybe, depending on when that was. Okay. Former titles. I don't know those. So this Wikipedia article has not been updated for a while because again, there's Machine Girl and Mandrake, which I know those IPs pretty damn well. Machine Girl, I love the. It was like a Kill Bill B movie out of Japan. I loved it. The blood was crazy, and then the action was insane. It was anime. It was very cool stuff. But I don't know any of the works here. And then the only site was right here, and I kind of think even Marvel was doing digital distribution around 2010. In fact, before that because I read all of Civil War digitally. But I could be wrong. So yeah, and it looks like for a while there they were even getting awards. They're Canadian. Look at that. I didn't know they were Canadian either. That's not up front and center. Did get a nomination for Atomic Robo, so they got into that circle. That's the other thing you'll find with indie publishers is, and I was talking about that with Antarctic Press, is there's some you can get in. I'm going to mention Black Mask. We're not looking at Black Mask, but Black Mask is a big one if you want to get into the mainstream industry eventually. Um, they're one of the filters. Antarctic, not so much, but consistent, steady publishing. Red 5, it looks like they were on that track at one point. Now, since it's been about 11 years since anything here, unless, again, this hasn't been updated in very long, um, they may not be one of those paths. But, yeah, okay, so there's not too much info to help me here. So let's go back to their site. Let's see. Too much text on Red 5, not enough art and comics. Yeah, I agree on this landing page. At least it doesn't want you to doesn't make you want to engage with the website. Atomic Robo, very cool. You backed an animation Kickstarter way back when, but never got your backer perks. At least it was not just on their end there because of the whole survey bit that Kickstarter does. Yeah, gotcha. So, okay, let's see. There's an about. Let's see what their about looks like. Stories. Comics that are fun. Oh, guys. That is so soft-handed in branding. I can't. That's like lower than vanilla. Okay. Creates, produces cinematic style comic book entertainment. That's a little bit better. That's French vanilla right here. Okay. 2007 Gem Award for Best New Publisher. And it looks like they've been writing that since '07 instead of getting new ones. And that's it for their about, huh? Interesting. Doesn't mention that they're Canadian here either, which makes sense because it says now they're in Texas. Huh. So you can tell. Some publishers have their shit together more than others. But for me, again, many pass up the mountain. As long as they get books onto store shelves, they are succeeding as an indie publisher as long as they can also keep it going. But yeah, comics that are fun. I don't want to make fun of these guys because they are giving a wonderful platform for indie comics. They're in stores, okay? I don't even have that through my publisher. Uh, but brand awareness. This getting cut off. You have stables of artists. You work with them to make images that fit and work. But yeah, okay. So thereabouts not that great. Let's look at their new releases. Let's look at the work. Here we go. Four new. Okay, and then it's a little slider. What I would have done is just filled the page, make it look like a comic book shelf. That's what I would have done. As you can see, the art quality is pretty damn good, particularly the colorists that they go for. They look for really good colorists. Again, this is the IP I knew the best, just Machine Girl, and I'm aware of this creator very much so. In fact, he did the best take apart of issue #1 of Jack that anybody's ever done. In terms of the themes and messages I hit, most folks don't look at it as deep as he did, which is a shame because of when I wrote, I was looking at least that deep. But um, I'm glad they were willing to publish him. That's one of the things that I was very interested when I saw that he was getting into stores. The work is beautiful. The creator is controversial, and they gave a controversial creator a platform. And we were just talking about Antarctic Press. Antarctic tried to give a controversial creator a platform, and they got reamed. So, I mean, it was a different scale of controversy, but it's a trip. And my thing is, I just want the voices and the work to be out there. So I'm glad to have seen that. Uh, Now it looks like okay, because it is the same artist. Oh, it is. So that helps, but again, this is kind of simple, and it doesn't sell the books. No mad cap under there, but let's see. You find something that looks cool and you look at it. Okay, this is better. Then they have a list. See, yeah, they were not up to date with the titles they're putting out. I mean, chasing Hitler right there, and that probably goes into why White Lily got in there. That makes sense. Okay. But yeah, check them out. See if any of the books are worth your time. I don't know a lot of these creative teams, um, but worth looking at. Just a second, folks. Go on out, Kit Kat. There you go. Um, The cover's good. Now, does it show interior pages? No. That bothers me. Let's try another. This is the one that got picked up by Netflix. I like the colors. They're very vibrant. I click on issue 3. Say I want issue 3. No interior pages. Okay, so the way to check out interior pages for Red 5 is going to be Global Comics. So I guess we'll go do that. Now, I don't know how many titles they actually have on Global Comics here. There they are. Boom. Butcher Queen, ZMD, Kill Monsters, Spook, 7%. Wanted to look at Machine Girl if it's on here. That's the title I'd get from them. Stoic, which went through multiple arcs. That's kind of neat. Girl, Haunted. Yeah, it seems like this company, like a lot of indie publishers, has a promotional problem. Dragon Whisperer. Let's look at Dragon Whisperer #1. Why not? The controversy for who, Josh? Because this stream's more about publishers themselves, but I'm happy to fill in a small gap. With Antarctic Press, that was in 2018 with Richard Meyer. For Red 5, the creators is Preston Poulter. People may know him as Pocket Jack Comics. And that one is a little bit different because he went to war with CG and has not stopped. And it makes sense to go that. Art interior here is actually lettering solid. There's a thing I don't like. So good background, decent background, a little wonky on perspective, but good, fine. It's a background. No background, no background, no background, no background, no background, no background. No setting, no background, background. Okay, no background. A little bit of a background. No background, background. Oh, okay. Manga can pull it off because it's going for speed and subtlety. So I have a little harder time with American comics that do that. But it looks good. It looks good. I mean, the coloring's got depth and texture to it. I don't know. So, did it match the cover? Certainly matched the cover. Right on. So no problems with me on that end on this book. So yeah, check it out. Global Comics if you want to look at more Red 5 titles. The main thing I can tell from Red 5 here is looks like they work on the business end more than the marketing end, which is fine. Some companies do the opposite, and that will bury them. But problem is, you can have all these wonderful titles, but if no one knows they exist, you're kind of in trouble. Now, what is comics? Oh, it's the general all category, but just repeated. Or maybe it narrows it down a little bit because there's something that's not a comic in here. I don't know. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Oh, that's the same. Okay, okay. And we're in the store, which is part of the comics, I think. And then there's a whole blog. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Uh, but yes, Red 5. I wish I had more to say. I like their logo. Tell you that when they went for marketing bit, I like the logo. The logo is instantly recognizable to me, and it doesn't really crowd covers. Uh, so that's killer. Just like the AP logo is really good. They have that down. I would have had the AP logo instead of that, but that works cool. But yeah, there's the AP logo. So that's Red 5 as much as I know. There's probably much more there that I don't know that I can't even reference because nobody's really updated this as far as I can tell. Does it say when it was last updated? I don't know Wikipedia. Oh, there it is. Yeah, yeah, it's been like 3 years since it's updated, so that's fair. But that means in 11, well, 9 years, Even at this point, they hadn't pushed much further forward, but they're still around, and that's my thing too. If you can keep footing in this industry as a publisher, you're doing something right, even if it's not easily evident. All right, so now we're going to move on to another company that I'm kind of really interested in, Scout. A few reasons for this. I see a lot of very cool, very talented, newer creators going into Scout Comics. I actively see Scout pushing their work in ways that the mainstream doesn't. This thing kind of caught my attention. I don't know, but it's cool that you can, for a flat fee, get all the titles they put out always, so you can support the publisher if you like the publisher as a system, which as creators is more likely. And again, well, not again, I haven't mentioned it this stream, but again and again in many other streams I've been on and have put out, about 75 to 85% of comic readers at least want to be comic creators. They might not follow through, but a lot of them have ideas. They have what they like. They have something they want to see manifest, right? So you should always include that as a publisher in your marketing and your ideas. You want to look like you're putting creators' foots forward so that creators want to support you and hopefully join you. Um, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. So far, this is the best site. Also, very clear. You can look at all their comic stuff. It puts the comics front and center. These folks know how to market it. Now, I hope they continue to remain successful. I don't know how long they've been. We'll be finding that out here in a bit. Uh, but they're doing it right in terms of the presentation on the digital front. Mystery box, so they have a lot of leftover comics. That sucks. I noticed we're going to talk, once we get to the next studio, we're going to talk about leftover in comics. Um, but these folks know web design. They know a little bit more about putting the books forward. Not the biggest fan of this big stripe going down, but it harkens back to original old school comics a little bit, so I understand why they do it. This certainly does. I mean, that's straight up adventure comics and detective comics, whatever. Straight up a parody of it. Homage. I mean, yeah, duh. Uh, trades. They try to sell to retailers who may have just heard about it. I mean, they're doing the marketing right. Stabity bun. So very cool company. Let's learn a little bit more about them. I don't know how long they've been around, but I certainly started hearing about them significantly in the marketing circles that I run around last year and the year before. So let's see. Scout. Scout is a comic book series. Whoop. Publisher. No, 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 no. We want Scout Comics Publisher. Oh boy. That is a book called Scout. See if they even have an entry. Are they not cool enough for Wikipedia? Scout Comics. Marvel Redirect. They're not cool enough for a Wikipedia entry. All right, so let's we're gonna have to search their own website for their history if they want to even about. Interesting. About Scout. Here we go. Guide you through the vast world of multimedia. Yes, they are trying to be a stepping stone, like a lot of these new indie publishers are, from comics to something else, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I wish comics fought to be the best comics first and foremost, and the next steps were the quality doesn't tend to be there. So I don't know. I don't know why everybody wants a movie. I think it's the money. Again, it's the blood. But we'll see. Yeah, and VR video games. Team at Scout, so they had quite a few folks. Production designer in 2019. 17. 15 years, so he's been around for a while. The chief strategy officer, which is important. They National Securities field for 14 years. These are folks with money who know how to do the business end of Scout. That's pretty damn obvious. And this is the fella who's had the most experience in comics, it looks like. Doesn't say how long they've been around. So I'm assuming they are babies. They've been around probably at most as long as I've been in comics. So they're babies, but they came in and kicked the door open. The next company we're going to talk about too did that as well. But let's go through their titles and we'll show you kind of the quality. Let's see, can, which is great. That's basically the demo reel. For the Black Cotton. Jungle. Yeah, I know Everglade Angels. I do know them because I know Blake Norcott. Galactic Rodents Mayhem, I'm aware of that creator as well. I really wish the book was getting to backers before hitting store shelves, but it is what it is. Well, a lot of titles. They all have looks. There's definitely a vibe to it. Again, Red 5. Looks like they were looking for bright, catchy covers. The line art was semi-realistic. Didn't look like they were going for too cartoony. The more cartoony book titles in Red 5, it looked like they were going for a more realistic and vibrant look. Antarctic Press, again, it's a mirror manga. These folks, again, it's going for these soft pastel tones, primarily with soft lines. Nothing too stylistic or edgy. That comes the closest so far. Does a little, but most of it is this soft stuff on Loggerhead. Looks interesting. Merch. Metal Shark. I had heard of Metal Shark back in the day before he got picked up. That's cool. Yeah, there's that pastel again. I'm not a fan of that art style. In fact, I have a Judge Dredd book that's in that kind of style, and oh boy, one of these days I might review that Judge Dredd. Let's see. There we go. There's something. Finally, something that really comes off as unique. This Planet Caravan got the more heavy metal look to it. 2000 AD, kind of grimy, grungy British comic look, which I am a huge fan of. That has a little bit of it too. There we go. Now we're into dark tones, which is a little bit better, but primarily that pastel soft look. It looks like, even if they're doing something called shit show. Interesting. It's very common in indie comics these days. A lot of creators like that softer style, and that's fine, but not to everybody's taste. Like I like that. I like that a lot. It's busy. It's still got that soft tone to it, but it's grimy. Corn with a K. By corn. White ash. Interesting. Yeah, see, there we go. End with the thing in Z. I like that. There you go. Interesting. It looks like they are looking for a very specific kind of look for their books, which is the mainstream look, which is appeal to the widest amount of folks as possible. Doesn't look like they are much of a niche indie publisher, like Antarctic Press has a bit more niche to them. Red 5 also kind of went for the widest possible, which makes sense, but Antarctics was smart. They started with a niche and kept with that niche and kept that footing, and it's kept them around for 35 years. Red 5, been around for a while. They hit the ground running and then didn't do anything with the energy as far as I can tell, except for acquire a couple licenses. Scout here, I'm aware of them. I've seen them all over the place. They are pushing these books and they are finding audiences because they are finding new hungry creators to put these things out that fit within their widely acceptable publishing strategy. Great. Not the kind of books I'm gonna jump all over, but looks pretty damn good, honestly. So, Scout's another tough one. I'm very glad they're around. They don't seem to be pushing the envelope. They seem to just be trying to take a foot in the industry, and that's great. But it's a lost opportunity. I hate to say it, because they have the foot, but now they don't seem to be pushing any hardcore niche, any kind of grasp. Got a foot in the door, and it's in the door, but now what? What I'm kind of getting from Scout at the moment. Very soft palettes again. I don't know. I haven't read these books. Um, that's the thing too. If they appeal to you, they're doing their job. Again, me, I don't see enough risks being taken to excite me as an indie comic creator. But as an indie comic creator, if I got published by Scout, I'd be stoked because they have a business strategy, have a foot in the door, and they are working to grow. Which Red 5, I didn't see that too much, and Antarctic has found their footing and they're comfortable with it and they will defend it, but they don't seem to also be growing. Closest again with Antarctic was the uh, Netflix deal for Warrior Nun, which I hope did them a world of good. I do, but I have no idea. And that's part of the problem. If it did do them a world of good, they should have pushed it very loudly and very clearly that we are now part of this game again, or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited to see how Scout continues. It looks like it's a baby. And hopefully they maybe will branch into more niche, less kind of uniform looking books, but you never know. But it does seem they have the same problem a lot of these new publishers do, which is, oh, we're doing comics because we're doing TV pitches or pitches. Should be doing comics to do comics. And I'm sure a lot of their creators are doing comics to do comics, but it seems that they come from picking up titles that are very much not just comics for comics. So we'll see. We'll see. But we're going to move on to somebody who was very direct in not doing comics just for comics because they came from TV. And that is TKO. Now, these folks kicked open the door with 5 titles right away. They wanted to do a digital, uh, would get one free preview digital on their website so you can read the first issue and see if you want more. They're very direct, like we're putting out quality books. They got Garth Ennis, Steve Epting, Elizabeth Breitweiser, um, on Sarah, which was the book that got me to notice them. I'm a huge Garth Ennis fan. Uh, but since then, I've picked up a few of their titles, and they are quality books. They put out good stories. They put out self-contained limited series that you can get in both a floppy box set or a trade paperback for cheaper. I always got the trade paperbacks just so I can binge them quick and put them on my shelf. But I noticed cracks right away. I noticed cracks right away in what they were doing. But their branding's good, their marketing's good. Um, Obviously, there's money behind it, and I don't want to focus straight onto the problems I noticed, but that's the thing that comes to mind first when I think of TKO. They put out about 5 titles a year in that binge format, so it's about 25 comics most of the time. Um, and that was their first couple years of operation. And then this latest year, they started doing ash cans, basically. They call TKO shorts, which are tiny little comic issues, which I'll review one here soon. They do a lot for promotion. So there was a promotion for a while that if you retweeted their stuff and left a review on Amazon, they'd send you their first run of TKO shorts for free. That was so cool. I was so happy to get them. I love free comics. Huge fan of free comics. So I'll have to look through those. But they came in obviously with that binge format. They wanted to kind of take this Netflix feel to it. It was a TV producer, a writer who started the company. So from that, and so right away, again, it's not comics for comics. It's comics for adaptation, and that may not take anything away from the books themselves. For instance, Sarah was amazing, and I loved Goodnight Paradise. But being a creator and looking at them, there's some trouble there. There's something we missed on Scout that I want to check. Right there, big old submissions thing. Whoop, there you go. Good, they do have a submissions thing and it's short and sweet. They don't have you download a fucking form that signs your life away first, or you even talk to them about your book. Yeah, definitely check that out. I'm always happy when the submission thing's right there. Did forget that, wanted to point that out. But back to TKO, they probably do not have submissions, be my guess. Yeah, they do not. They are searching for talent and actively grabbing the talent they want. Uh, yeah, here's the shorts. They're tiny little ashcan books. You'll see that when I do the reviews of ones. They're self-contained stories as well, and I think what they're doing is they're trying out writers and artists in this smaller, more affordable to print format that they can give away in some cases. Because the trade paperbacks, within a year, their first round of titles, like the end of that year, they were doing buy one, get one free. So they had printed a shit ton of books and left with them. It was obvious. They didn't say it, but it was obvious. And that sucks. That could kill a publishing company. Um, and I don't hear them talking about different print runs or anything like that. So it's there are a lot of show, which I expect from a entertainment guy coming into comics, which is good. The show is the magic. It helps people engage and build this symbol. But since their first round of books, I haven't really been stoked. So they've done 2 rounds officially of the big trade paperback shorts. Um, Huge fan of Sarah, huge fan of Goodnight Paradise. I have not been able to get through Seven Deadly Sins, sadly. It's a Western, but it's not my style. A lot of people would like it. It's just super gory and super, I'm gonna call it hardcore. It's to me. I don't like any of the characters. Goodnight Paradise, the main character here, this hobo. Um, you can feel for him. You feel his good heart and how he led himself astray. There's a lot there. Sarah is masterful in art presentation, and of course Garth Ennis. If you're going to do a military comic, Garth Ennis does it. Doesn't matter what part of the military, what military, he knows how to do it right and give it heart and give it strength. Beautiful work, Sarah. This is probably a lot of fun too, but I don't know. Haven't gotten to Fearsome Dr. Fang. It was marketed as a bit of Indiana Jones. If that's your style, check it out. You can always, again, you can read the first issues of all of these titles. They have no worry about that. They want to speak from their quality and hope that you'll buy the entire series. But second round of titles, there wasn't anything that super interested me. I heard a lot of good things about Sentient. A lot of people like Jeff Lemire. But the rest of these didn't really have anything up my alley. And so I kind of dropped off personally from TKO. And I've been supporting them in marketing because, again, I love these unique voices coming out and new ways of doing this publishing because it needs to happen. There are so many amazing creators out there who cannot get their work on shelves or get their work out to the public, and that is a shame for the entire soul of humanity. Uh, but particularly for comic book readers and creators, there are so many closed doors when none of them need to be. But so I had some trouble there. It looks like they've even reached out into Illustrated Prose. So they thought they'd have better footing, and they thought their idea would hit harder than they did. Looks like they've also then went to 3 titles for their newest drop instead of the 4. Steve Orlando is very well known. I think Steve Niles is too, but I don't know most of these creators, sadly. Um, and then they started these. So they've obviously been willing to adapt. I'm very happy to see that. Uh, but it is a bit of a pain in the ass when you don't come into comics as a comic creator. So let's look at their history. 2017 is when they were founded by Seichun and Salvatore Simeone, I want to say. He looks like he was a colorist on many of those books. Maybe he was the letterer. And of course, they went directly to the consumers and comic shops, getting around the middleman who is struggling and dying anyway. Most independent publishers now are going past Diamond, realizing they don't have to go to Diamond, which is wonderful to see. I'm very pissed off when I see publishers that do not realize they can just go around the traditional distribution system and go straight to everybody who wants the books. I would love to be part of the traditional distribution system because it does have benefits, but if you can't take a path, you find a path around. But so yeah, they've been around for about 4 years. And it looks like they tried that directly, and then in 2020, it looks like they actually did find book distribution, which probably gets them into bookstores, not just comic stores, which is great. Second wave. And TV came to be nominated for an Eisner. Yes, indeed. Third wave with 3. Yeah, miniseries again. Yeah, so it was just 3. And then they started their TKO shorts. This one has been updated. You can look through all that. You can look through the creative team. Looks like the banks went straight to feature film, which I don't know if it made the sales to justify that, but again, that's what this publishing company is about. It's about finding creators, getting ideas recognized, and then throwing it on a TV or movie producer's fucking table and saying, "Look, sold. This looks good. This is what it's kind of gonna look like." You can read the whole thing. Got pretty pictures, so you don't have to just read a script. Oh, sorry if I sound pissed off at that. It bothers me. It bothers me to my core of what sequential art means to me. But it's a viable path. Now there's no submission queue here, so this is an indie publisher which you should be aware of. You should check out, and I hope can find a better footing than they have. But yeah, TKO is an interesting one. I like them. I like them a lot, but their core of what they do, I don't like. So it's a tough one. Like Seichun, I like him quite a bit. He's a cool guy. But yeah, so TKO. That's TKO. Some very cool books, very quality stuff, with a very direct goal not to make comics. That's a hell of a thing to me. But who knows? Who knows? I have my limited perception, the limited window of perception I'm granted. So I could be very wrong in a lot of cases, but the evidence presented to me. So there's no submissions. The news section, their site seems to be pretty clean. Yeah, very, very direct, easy enough to figure out, easy to get to their creative thing. My guess is they don't have a submissions, not. But there you go. You can check out TKO. I do recommend supporting any of these indie comic publishers. Part of the whole impetus of this freaking stream. Uh, Check them out. Talk more about them. What I'm doing here. Now we're going to move on to a publisher that I know have been around for a while because they were there before I got there, and they're producing some very cool looking books. That's Mad Cave. In fact, I know the creator here, Rexstar. Again, it's the soft pastel, soft lines kind of art style that everyone is doing. That bothers me, but I have faith that the work will speak for itself. It's tough, man. You'll see through this that as I've been seeing through it. If you're not creating a very specific style, you may not find a path through comics through any of these traditional publishers, and these are the entry publishers in a lot of cases. TKO not so much, but Scout, Antarctic, these folks. Antarctic at least presents a unique path with unique style. But Mad Cave, they've done other things that aren't this soft pastel. Even though when you're looking at all of this stuff here, it's harder to tell. Very hard to tell, in fact. Um, I know Battle Cats. That was the series I know from Mad Cave, but it doesn't look like that is what they are pushing anymore. Alrighty. Yeah, it's been a while. I won't lie there. I like their site. It's clean. Uh, Contact is probably the closest to submissions that they have here. Look. Choop choop. Aha! There you go. And they're not accepting any submission. They have their goal and they have the books they want to have. So keep an eye on them if you have any interest in their work and what they've produced already. But it looks like they've closed their doors for a while. So sad to see. But, there's always only a scale. These folks are proud to say where they started. That's great. That makes my job easier. 2014. I knew they were around for a while before I dived in. Battle Cats, there it is. Yep, that's the series I know from Mark London. I think I saw Midnight Task Force for a while too, actually. But these folks, again, they know their style. They feel a lot like Scout, if I'm being honest at this point. So I guess Scout feels a lot like them, which feels a lot like Red 5 in terms of the art style and how they present things. But worth a look. Quality, again, entry level stuff. I'm kind of surprised. Everything kind of feels so very similar as I'm going through this, because I expected there to be a diverse niche, but it looks like most of these publishers are looking for the same kind of stuff, and that means they're all fighting each other. Again, except for Antarctic. So far. Um, the next two publishers after Mad Cave here hopefully will change my opinion on that. Hopefully. I could be unpleasantly surprised. But let's check out a little bit more history of Mad Cave. So 2014, they're out of Florida. They're distributed by Diamond to get into stores. That's the one that I know, which is Battle Cats. Tried to launch a universe out of Battle Cats. Called the issue an underwhelming debut from the publisher. So looks like they've had a hard time getting a footing. I don't think they got any of the awards, for instance, that Red 5 got. Red 5 is older, though, as you saw. Um, Interesting. I remember the talent search in 2018. Then they ran it again. And there was another one last year, which went to an anthology. They do actively look for new creators here and there, but it looks like they look for them, not expect you to find them. Check them out. There's Battle Cats is the book I know the best again out of these folks. It looked good, but I haven't. A lot of what this stream is trying to put these publishers in front of folks. Even though my platform is their platform probably dwarfs it, but something, because even though a lot of this feels very similar, like you had these 4 books on the shelves. I mean, the palette is basically the freaking same. Um, they don't stand out that much. That being said, there's probably a reason. A lot of pinks and soft. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I think it's about trying to attract a more feminine demographic, which is fine. More readers in comics. But I don't know if that's the way to do it by throwing out throwing out the baby and keeping the bath water. You either throw it all out and start something new, or you keep the baby in bath water and you just grow the tub. Uh, who knows? Some cool lines there. I like the hatching, but check them out. I wish I had more to say on Mad Cave, but they don't have too much presented here for me to talk about. And again, most of these publishers, basically all of them except for Antarctic and no, I've read some WA as well, and I'm going to have some negatives about them. But and our final folks, I'm not going to have too much to say because I haven't read enough of their work because they've never had anything that really wanted to attract me there. But that doesn't mean they're not good works. So check them out. Yeah, the news doesn't have too much. I'm excited for Beckstar a little bit because of Joe Correo. Um, It has a different cover artist. Original. That's bothersome to me. But there's it looks like a lot of these publishers are trying to prove they know how the mainstream works. And yes, the mainstream exists. It's not working. Comic sales have fallen like crazy in terms of volume of sales, not in terms of money. That that a smaller group of comics gets published, and I don't want to feed that system personally. However, any way you can get books out and on shelves or succeeding in growing comic book readership, in my opinion. So go for it. Um, I wish I wasn't so negative about quite a few of these, but it's starting to break my heart a little bit with how similar things look like. At least that looks a little bit different. Some of the perspective is a little wonky, but it looks different. It's hatchy and such. Battlecast look different. It looks really cool, but it doesn't look like they're pushing that at all, which I find surprising. That looks a little different. Yeah, I don't know. Check it out, folks. Check out Mad Cave. We're gonna move on to AWA here. So AWA, the thing that they did that TKO kind of tried but didn't nail is get a bunch of industry professionals in on it. They got Straczynski. They got recently with this book, which I'm actually really excited. If I had money to pick it up, I totally would. They got Brian Edward Hill. They got uh, Kara Andrews. Got quite a few of amazing artists, and the books don't look the same, which is nice, except for the ones that Mike Diodato works on a little bit. They got Frank Martin Jr., probably my favorite industry colorist ever. A lot of good talent in WA, and they just happened to launch at a terrible time that was very coincidental, launching their universe to their universe was launched by a global pandemic, and their company launched during a global pandemic. It wasn't the best combination of things. Um, and I don't think, again, this is probably not a company that also accepts submissions, but you can. They've been pushing hard into global comics, which we checked out earlier with Red 5. Definitely check them out if you want to read any of these issues for free. Kind of get an idea of if any of the titles go for you. But this seems to be the main company out of all of them that we've looked at besides Antarctic Press that is publishing a diverse range of titles. Look different. None of them exactly the same. Again, the Mike Diodato stuff, it can feel very similar, but other than that, and I don't know. I'm hoping it's creator owned. I also don't know that. But let's go ahead and look at the wiki article. 2018 by Axel Alonso, who people should know pretty well. These were comic book pros that came in and founded this and wanted a new way through. Now they have a creative council, which includes Ennis, which is great. Frank Cho as well, that's good, and Straczynski. Some wonderful, very cool folks. Oh yeah, the Resistance, which is the shared universe now. Reading the Resistance. I've gone through this with my editor, my co-editor for IronVerse Comics. Diodato has two modes. One of them I'm not a big fan of. It's very much tracing, CG model tracing and photo tracing. And it's noticeable and it sucks all the energy out of panels. The other mode is Mike Diodato. so I get it because he was working on like 3 or 4 titles for AWA. So I see how 1 or 2 of them may have to be pushed forward in less great ways. But yeah, in terms of writers, as Game Graves here said, very cool talent on board with AWA, and I've heard nothing but good stuff about the writing. Um, they've had a hard time finding footing and finding marketing footing. But their presentation beats the shit out of Red 5 there, and Mad Cave about on par with TKO. But again, they put the books front and center like a shelf. Very good looking books that don't all the same. uh, Definitely worth checking out. Again, Global Comics has that. My guess is if I go over here. Oh, they don't have a submission thing, but they're also not saying don't get a hold of us, which I am excited to see. So if you're a creator watching this, maybe shoot something. The worst and most common thing that happens with any kind of submission, any kind of trying to reach a company like this, is you don't get anything back. Just don't hold your breath. And when we get on to my next company here, I'm not holding my breath for something I submit. But because they were up front, 4 to 6 months if we even get back to you. But part of the point of this was again just trying to make folks aware of these smaller publishers that are at least a few of them the entryways into comics. After so at the beginning of the stream, I did mention the entryway into comics is to make comics. Then you're at the base of the mountain. And then when you're looking at the mountain, there's probably 50 fucking paths up it. There's more than that. There's infinite. You're gonna make your own in all honesty. There's no way else. Tries to, as a system, make you think there's one way or one specific path that's going to get you to where you want to go. And my experience and from the experience of other creators I've seen, that's just not how it goes. It just really isn't. That's the perception the industry wants you to put out. The classic line of growth is you make a comic or write it or whatever, you get it done. Now they won't tell you to do that either. Some will say, "Oh, just put some art forward, and then if we like your art." Yeah, that's not enough these days. You make a comic, do it yourself. You pay for it, or you draw it and write it and learn the skills yourself. You finish a story. Uh, then you're looking at this new thing. You have this comic. How do I market it? How do I get it in folks' hands? Most people want to go to a publisher for that because they have the experience. A lot of these publishers, Dark Horse, Image, Black Mask, these folks we've been talking about, they're a path. And they're the path that maybe will get you mainstream notice. A lot of people want to go work for Marvel. They want to go work for DC. They want to write Batman, want to draw Spider-Man. I get it. I love it. Those are icons that can make your bones for the rest of your life in comics. So it should absolutely be part of the goal if you want to survive and keep making comics, because it's very rare you're going to get a creator-owned title or anything that can support you as a creator throughout this whole journey. But at the end of the day, it's deciding between again the money, which I keep calling blood in this because it's business, very uncomfortable. And then there's the creative artistic expression. And I always have erred on the creative artistic expression end because I think that's how you get these gems and you get these stories that change the world. Um, you don't get it by focusing on the business end. You get it by putting your voice out into the world, mattering. Uh, and there's a disconnect. So you have crowdfunding, which is the path I had to take. I tried the publisher submission end, and I got one response out of maybe 16 fucking submissions. That was like, I enjoyed the read, but it's just not what we are looking to publish. Uh, it was kind enough the guy took the time to actually write that, because nobody else did. There's this disconnect that maybe will freeze a lot of creators from even going. And there's this disconnect with these smaller publishers that you have to pretend you're bigger than you are. You have to be the blowfish to stand out in the waters. I get it. But there's this again the business disconnect, this inhuman angle that's can break a lot of creators trying to get in. Instead of that, I want folks to know that there's angles. Try them. If they don't work, keep going. Uh, that's part of this stream. That's part of the stream. AWA, they got amazing writers, amazing creators. They do not, as far as I can tell, have amazing sales and did not bust open the door they'd like to have. Just like TKO didn't bust open the door they'd like to have. And that one I saw very, very directly that they didn't because they had to do sales within a year. Buy one, get one free sales too, not like 25% off. No, no, no. They were giving you another book if you bought one of their books. Um, it was hard. It was hard to see because I had a lot of faith in TKO from kicking open a door and doing something different. AWA, they're not kicking open a door so much, but they are focusing on quality, and I want to see them persevere. I think Chariot has been the #1 book I've seen been really pushed into fandom because Brian Edward Hill is a very cool dude. People know him from Batman and the Outsiders and a lot of other stuff. Um, so I'm hoping that gets them a little bit more of a foot. I mean, this fella, Mr. Andrews, he's also very well known. This is kind of his Spider-Man because he wanted to do something kind of Spider-Man-y. Apparently, it's been done really well. People would know a good chunk of this team from Wolverine, the current run of Wolverine. Benjamin Percy's been writing it. Frank Martin Jr.'s been coloring it. These are high-level talents, and they have a great basis, and they're going to be producing very cool work. But I don't think you can get a foot in the door with AWA, and that's kind of hard to say. But again, they actually have their contact info up. They don't have submissions up, but they have their contact info up. Fucking crazy. Mad Cave, they're like, yeah, don't get a hold of us. Well, we'll find you. TKO, same thing. They don't even talk about that, but I'm sure you could get a hold of folks, but it doesn't even have contact on here. I bet there's an email down here or something. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Uh, they okay. I was wrong. TKO. They won't be able to review everyone and then send you something back, but they're willing to hear from you, so I'm guessing. They don't tell you how to get a hold of them, however, so that's on you folks to find. That's a little annoying. Scout, they have a system like most. You'll find that with even Alterna Comics, and you'll find that, again, Dark Horse Image, they'll have something like this. Dark Horse, of course, though, wants you to sign a piece of paper first, which that's always a red flag to me. Means they probably got fucked by a creator at one point. But since like no other publishers are doing it, including Image Comics, which is the biggest bastard, and Dark Horse has had some very interesting internal history. I don't know. Red 5, I don't remember if they had a submission area. They do, and it's right up there, easy to get to. Check that out. Oh, look, they even have the email address submission. Yeah, very easy to go into. Great. Wonderful to see. I don't like their site, but I like that. And Antarctic, boom, submissions for publication. How to submit, whom to submit, whom not to submit. All stuff. Very, very basic guys. Just read through them, try it out. Your best foot through the door is going to be a established publisher in comics. Your second best foot through the door is going to be crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is an investment, both of time and you have to build your own audience. It's the way to make sure you have the strongest footing moving forward, but it's also the hardest road. It's the rockiest. It's the least traveled in a lot of cases, and it is definitely not the most profitable. Whereas the publisher angle can be consistent money, notoriety, name, association. There's a lot of benefits to going under a publisher, and my #1 is you get your book in stores for sure if they're doing their job correctly. Now we'll go to the final one. My favorite out of all of these. No offense to Antarctic primarily, and AWA. I like those folks quite a bit. But these folks, dirty, grimy, grungy heavy metal. I'm a big fan. I've been a fan of Heavy Metal Magazine for a while, and I've been a fan of the Heavy Metal movie forever, and of course the music. As a fan of heavy metal, um, their trip. They've published all kinds of works. Um, very artistic. A lot of artistic diversity, and they've started pushing hard again this last couple years. Particularly, I think this year and last. Um, and they're all over the place. Right now, their fucking editor in chief is fucking Grant Morrison, which is a trip and a half. They've been pushing the actual heavy metal angles quite a bit. Oh, they did a volume 2, huh? I have Legacy of the Beast volume 1. Wasn't that good? I have to admit, it wasn't that good. And this too, Death by Design, you could only get with the full Megadeth anthology album set. So I hope they've changed that as well. I am unaware. Tarna is one of their flagship characters. It was the main character in the last bit of Heavy Metal the movie. Those comics have been very good. I have a few of their back stuff, but they used to, and I hope they still do, publish all kinds of books. Just random shit. I have quite a few on my shelf here. What was called War Machine, but now Marvel put their foot down there. Now called Rogue Trooper. Wonderful book about the horrors of war and being just a simple tool. Let me look back here. Yeah, another of my favorite that I've been reading recently is called Gypsy. Big fan of these folks. Thing is, they also overprint and undersell, which sucks. But that's just mainly the magazine. Yeah, From the Vault is a good bit. I guess those are reprints. Ranks, people might know. I discovered Ranks myself not too long ago. That's, yeah. Adios, Palamida. I have that as well. It was a good read. This is one of the few places that's still doing what Image claims to be doing. And now I don't know. They've changed management quite a bit. They've moved around a lot of folks, and more of the traditional mainstream industry has come into heavy metal. So it's less punk rock than I like. But these are the folks, if I could be published, they'd be where I want to be published. Now, where did I find that? Over here. Like their site, it's very dynamic, very pointy. I don't know if I'm a big fan of everything being a triangle. Look, yeah, everything's pointy at the very least. Ah, I was down here. Boom, submissions policy. So it's harder to find their submissions, but it's worth checking out. The main book they're pushing right now is Tarna. I haven't seen anything else from them, which is a trip. They started publishing Heavy Metal magazine again, I think bi-monthly. I think they were doing biannually for the last, decade and a half. So they got some more money and they're trying to push in. So I'm very hopeful. That's the kind of art I like. Grungy, dirty, expressive kind of stuff. And I think if you have a very angry, violent, or sexy book to put out, Heavy Metal is where you would go. But again, I don't know how hard they're pushing into publishing a bunch of creator-owned stuff. But they did for a long time, and I'm very hopeful that it can keep going. They definitely are winning the presentation angle of their site. But here we go. Let's go ahead and boop. They've been around since '77. I knew it. So they are the granddad on this journey through indie publishers. Antarctic was just a little bit behind by about a decade. And then everybody else was babies compared to them. Heavy Metal's published everybody. And I really hope they can keep going and keep pushing the edge of what comics should be. I mean, for a very long time, I mean, you were classified as a goddamn porn shop if you were selling certain comics. In fact, there was another company that lasted for a little while, founded by Glenn Danzig, believe it or not, called Verotic. And they really wanted to push that angle. That was their whole fucking publishing strategy is we're going to publish the nastiest, gnarliest, most gruesome, sexy books that you can. Now let's get those Bible thumpers angry at us, and we'll use that as marketing. Heavy Metal is the last bastion of that I can tell. I don't see any other indie publishers trying anything even close to that anymore. Even Heavy Metal, from what I can tell, has softened a little. But it's artistically diverse. If you folks have been watching this stream, you kind of saw quite a few of those publishers. They're producing books that look very similar, even though the creative teams are from all over. Means they're looking for something specific, and I don't know if it's working. I do. I hope it's working because it'll keep the companies alive, allow them to grow and take more risks. But I don't see risk taking too often. Again, AWA, they're allowing the creators to take risks because the creators themselves are not a risk. Heavy Metal, it's probably taking a very similar angle, and that's what allows their books to look diverse. But as you saw, TKO, stuff kind of looks similar. Red 5, things kind of look similar. Mad Cave, they look a little similar. Antarctic Press, they publish a mirror manga, so everything's going to kind of look like manga a little bit. But then you also get books like Rags and Black Hops. Black Hops has an Amerimanga look, but it's very different in storytelling. Rags doesn't look very manga at all, and it's very different in storytelling. So there's risks being taken at Antarctic, but they've played it safe, and I think that's what kept them around for their nearly 36 years. But Heavy Metal, yeah, they've been all around the place. It looks like they've changed ownership for a while. The longest run was Heavy Metal Communications Inc. It was Metal Mammoth. Well, Metal Mammoth was about as long. Right now, they are themselves for the last 7 years, it looks like. It says they're out of Massachusetts, but for the longest time, they were out of England, so I am very unsure, to be honest. But yeah, it was it. He took over publication in '92. Kevin Eastman. So I don't know. I don't know. There's been some beautiful works coming out of Heavy Metal. I mean, they produced Mobius forever. Put his art work out. Folks aren't talking about Heavy Metal enough, for damn sure. Folks ain't talking about AWA enough, for damn sure. Mad Cave, Scout, TKO, they can be talked about more so that maybe they can feel safe in producing a wider range of works. It's a wide range numerically. It's not, and story wise, I'm sure, but artistically, it's not that wide of a range. I want to see a wider range. I want to have creators who feel comfortable and are able to get their their work out. And not everybody's going to have this very similar voice that's being pushed in some of those circles. So I hope this stream kind of helped a little bit on pointing a spotlight on these 7 folks. There's a few more out there. Again, Black Mask, I don't know very much about, but I do know it's a door in for a lot of folks into Marvel and DC. I think they take a bit more risks. There's a lot of these smaller publishers that when I was breaking in myself, if they weren't there in some cases. Heavy Metal was there. AWA was not. Mad Cave was, but I wasn't aware of them. TKO wasn't. Scout wasn't. Red 5, I guess, was, but I wasn't aware of them. And Antarctic was certainly, but I don't believe I was aware of them until I started crowdfunding. So there's many paths up the mountain. Check out these indie publishers. And if you folks have any questions on my experience or any of these things before I close out the stream, I'd love to answer them. But if not, don't worry about it. I tried to be of some use. Now, I don't know if I was. A lot of it was critiquing these publishers, and I wanted to more put a spotlight on them. My other goal was to kind of show what, what's possible and what they're doing. I think I did that, but still, there's a chance I didn't. Let's check out Game Graves. Howdy Roboto someone. 6. Welcome, welcome. Dollar coins. That's common in the writing publishing world. You fire 40 emails, get maybe 2 replies. It's the same in novels and scripts, and etc. Yeah. Um, there's a lot of people in this world trying to break into these industries. And a lot of these companies, they know what they want. They might even know it from the title that you put on your work. So they don't even see it and they toss it. It's how it goes, and it sucks. But if you're gonna do the publishing slog, you got to keep at it. As you said, 40 emails. You'd probably want to do that yearly at the very least. Eventually, maybe somebody will actually take a look at it. Um, with comic scripts, I hope it's a little not scripts. They won't look at scripts at comic submissions. So usually that includes art. Um, hopefully it's a little less, but you never know. Uh, but if you're going to try that, that's the way to get your bones. If you can get an actual publishing label under you, then you have some respect, and that'll allow you to maybe be more visible when you submit to other publications. And that's how you grow your business here. And that's the thing. It's always going to be the blood, the money, and the business first, and the art second. And kind of have to realize that, and you have to find your comfortability with sacrifice on the artistic end to make it, and that sucks. But if there's a wide enough diversity of publications, you hopefully can find a place where the sacrifice is worth the gain. I can say I haven't found that just yet, but I found enough to keep me afloat and keep our work growing. And I want that for every creator, to be able to keep afloat, keep the work growing, keep putting out the work, and hopefully blow the creative sequential art storytelling world apart. I want to see it blown up. I want to see folks challenged. I want to see competition out there. So yeah, let's check one last thing. There's quite a few viewers, maybe. Refresh this to check because it does not auto update. Yeah, wow, quite a few of you folks. Well, thank you for joining me on this. Again, now's the time. If you have any questions, now would be the time. Otherwise, I'm going to start closing out this stream. It's been about 2 hours. It's a decent stream. I may be back right away with a more traditional gameplay stream. So you're welcome to come back and hang out when I start that. But as of right now, I think we're done with this one's point. Maybe I'll do another one on if I can get enough other smaller publishers. Because there's a few tiers of publishers. There's tiny, where they're just building their brand and their name. Then there's small, which we looked at. Then there's medium, which is Image and Dark Horse. Uh, and then there's the big guys, which are more traditional, not technically creator owned anymore. I miss Vertigo so very much. It used to be DC's hand in all of this. I miss them very much. I wish Vertigo was still around because it's Vertigo and heavy metal. That's where I would have went. That would have been my goal. So now it's just heavy metal, and then I hope so. I tried something. I tried something with heavy metal recently, and I've got 4 to 6 months to hear back, or not. so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah. Unless there's any questions, welcome Warren. Thank you so much. If you folks enjoyed this, want more content like it, have more specific questions, you want me to do a deeper dive into a title or into a company, let me know in the comments below. Or right now while we're still live, either of those things. Happy to get to them. And I hope something here was useful, if nothing else, worthy of being heard. There are so many tiny publishers out there, and I can do a lot of introspection on the tiny publishers, but most of them don't even have websites set up. So it's a lot harder to present you with information on them except for going through social media, and then that opens a Pandora's box I don't really want to close, or I don't really want to open and wouldn't be able to close. Uh, so uh, I wanted to focus on small publishers, and I'm sure I missed a bunch. There's a massive diversity of small publishers out there, above the tiny one. But I wanted to touch on a couple of them that, again, when I jumped in, I wasn't even aware of quite a few of them, and they weren't even there when I started. And that's just years ago. It wasn't even, a decade ago. So hopefully that was some use. Welcome, Warren. I'm glad you found some of this interesting. I appreciate that very much. Looks like getting noticed is hard work. It is exceedingly hard work. I have no idea how I did it except for being consistent and being able to show the product directly to the customers to build a fan base. Um, I was very persistent. I was stubborn, and we had a good product to show to folks. And then I did crowdfunding so I could continue doing that. And I lucked out. Worked very hard for it, but I lucked out. And it's been continuous hard work. Now I've spoken to and met industry pros. I am published. But there's better paths than the one I took. I know it. And if I can help anybody find that better path, then my path was right. Then I chose the right path. Um, Even with the additional stumbles and such that maybe could have been avoided, taking other ways. If those other ways were even possible, I don't know. Never can know. But I want to present the possibilities to other creators. And if you're a comic fan, again, about 85 to 95% of you want to also be creators. So honestly, I want your work out there. So if this was any help, let me know. Like, subscribe, share around. I'll be doing that. Trust me, that's the only way you get noticed again. And I appreciate you all for joining me for this last nearly 2 hours. Incredible. I had a stupid idea. I was woken up early. I was like, you know what? I kind of want to deep dive and see what I can get out of these other publishers. Kind of talk about that grind. And hopefully I did that. Hopefully I accomplished that. There was a lot more critiquing of websites than I wanted to do, a little bit more critiquing of books than I wanted to do. But the idea of both was to show the different degrees that these publishers go for. Some focus on marketing, some focus on the quality of the books, some focus on newer creators, some focus on established creators. Um, all things you should kind of be aware of as you're diving into this space, and hopefully not intimidated by. That was a big thing that stalled me out for a while too, was intimidation. Just carve a path. It's all jungle. You just got to hack away at it with a machete until you see some way that you can keep going. All right, I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics, and I will catch you on that rusty IronVerse Comics trail. Probably pretty soon. I'm just gonna have some breakfast and maybe make some better coffee. You folks take care. Thank you so much for joining me.